Okay, good morning. It's 11 a.m. I'm going to call the Public Services Committee meeting to order, and with that, we'll have roll call, please.
Spiz.
Present.
Teets.
Here.
McGilvray.
Here.
Jackson is absent with notice. Berman. Not here yet. Dwyer.
Here. Okay, with that, please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, well, thank you very much. With that, we'll ask for a motion for the approval of the minutes from the September 28, 2017 meeting, moved by Commissioner Spiz, supported by Commissioner Teets. Any discussion?
He only looks at this.
Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Now I'll ask for a motion to approve of the agenda, moved by Commissioner McGilvray,
I'll support that.
supported by Commissioner Spiz. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Thank you. I'll now open it up for public comments. If you come forward, anyone that would like to make any comments. Yes, come forward. Please identify yourself and the city, village, or township you live in, and we have a 3-minute rule in effect for the agenda. Comments?
Hello, my
Morning.
name is Karen Irwin, and I live in Plymouth, Michigan, and I'm here about the Shane Dior kennel again. Just want to make sure you guys are aware that Livonia, on the same case, has pressed charges of animal neglect and cruelty, 5 counts, plus the absence of license tag on 5 individual dogs housed at the kennel in Farmington Hills. Based on the same case, pictures, testimony as Oakland County has, and yet Oakland County is not pressing animal neglect and cruelty charges. And I'm just wondering if we can get an update on why there is such a discrepancy between the two counties.
I'll just briefly say, I'm sure you're aware of it, that it is an ongoing investigation, and it is being presented to the prosecutor's office.
Yeah, when neglect is this bad, I'm not sure I understand why the dogs are still housed at that kennel. Conditions are so bad they're impacting their health. Why haven't they at least been made to go to a different kennel that is better conditions, that isn't impacting their health and well-being? Just wondering about that, and if we can speed up the process at all.
I'll just make a brief comment on, you're aware that there's an agreement been reached, and that kennel is going to be closed permanently within the next month or so.
The agreement that was reached, which we have not been able to see, so we don't actually know what's in the agreement. The agreement apparently is allowing this location to close. It's not preventing her from moving elsewhere, taking her dogs with her, which is just the same neglect. So yes, this facility, specifically in Farmington Hills, is closing. That does nothing to help the animals that are in that facility. So yes, the agreement has this facility closing, and if you are all happy with that agreement, I am not. The agreement does nothing to protect the animals, and I'll rest my case there.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else like to make public comments? Pam?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak again today. I'll be real quick. The last time I was here,
Could you yes.
Pam Sordow, founder of Puppy Mill Awareness of Southeast Michigan. I'm also the founder of Michigan Friends of Companion Animals, and I'm also district leader for the Humane Society of the United States. The last time I was here, I presented my animal cruelty study, which took me a long time. It covers a 3-year period of tickets that were processed through the court system, through animal control. I had our attorneys look at it, I had my colleagues look at it, and it is ready for publication. I have presented the summary to Mr. Newman. I have not been able to meet with the department, but we've incorporated recommendations, so I will be forwarding the entire study and recommendations to the committee, and I'd love to have a meeting to talk about opportunities for improvement. But I also wanted to add on to what Karen had to say. We don't agree with the agreement. I brought this binder here. This includes all the documents that were part of the June 1st inspection in Farmington Hills, which was prepared by senior officers and Ron Shankin. They did a good job. This is a lot of evidence, a lot of photos, and this shows evidence of cruelty. And one thing I noticed in this packet was a letter from the county's veterinarian who inspected the dogs. It's a pretty powerful letter. And I think you can feel her frustration in this letter. And she talks about the 5 freedoms that these dogs do not have. That letter was removed from the electronic copy. It's not available in the public records that I was provided later, only the hard copy. So I don't know if it was actually pulled or not, but I will be providing that letter from the veterinarian that proves 9 dogs were impacted by the conditions. Any other agency would have removed all the animals and not allowed her to try to seek treatment. It looks like treatment was not provided. I think we had a strong case in June. I think the department did a good job. I think maybe some management decisions were made that should have not been made to make an agreement. And that's why we keep coming back. I am also here today to meet with Commissioner Gershenson. She is part of Farmington Hills, and she wants to help work on some solutions in this case and overall at the shelter. So we're going to provide some recommendations to her as well today to try to come up with some ideas to move forward. So I hope the department will meet with me about this study. That's what I'm really hoping for. And so hopefully Mr. Newman will meet with me today briefly or at a designated time.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comments and move to our regular agenda. And the first item is the Department of Public Services Community Corrections Division repeal of PA 511 ineligible offense list. And this is moved by Commissioner Spiz, supported by Commissioner McGilvery, and as our presenters we have Barbara Henke and
Eric Schmidt.
Eric Smith. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, Barbara Henke, I'm the manager for Community Corrections, and Eric is the Chief of Field Operations for Community Corrections. So this resolution that we're bringing before you today is to repeal the current miscellaneous resolution that established the eligibility criteria, which was originally established back in 1994 and then amended in 2002. The PA 511 statute, state statute, was amended in 2014. And so this resolution is really just bringing the language to be consistent with what is currently in the Public Act.
I see. Any questions? Okay, seeing none, roll call vote.
Spiz,
Yes.
Teets,
Yes.
McGilvray,
Yes.
Dwyer.
Yes. Motion carries unanimously. Anything else to report, Barbara?
We're very busy. It's a really, really busy time. I will be seeing you all again, hopefully soon. We're going through contract negotiations. For those of you who remember that nightmare, last year it took us 5 months to get through the contract with the state. So Corp Council is on it. They're doing a great job.
Never easy.
We're right back in the same boat that we were last October. So I'll see you again, hopefully in a couple of months.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next item is the Sheriff's Office, Oakland County Health Network, reimbursement for jail alliance with support for the JAWS program and inmate care worker position. And this will be an automatic direct referral to the Finance Committee. And as our presenter, it's moved by Commissioner Teets, supported by Commissioner McGilvery. And we have Executive Lieutenant McCullen, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Executive Lieutenant. And Matt Costello, and your position, I'm sorry?
Supervisor of the Program Services Unit.
Supervisor Program. Well, thank you for being here.
Good morning to the board. How are you guys doing today?
Very good.
We're here to for the reimbursement of the Oakland County's Health Networks for the Jail Alliance with Support program as it relates to 2 part-time caseworker positions and 1 full-time position. And we'll answer any questions you may have.
Okay, we'll open it up for any discussion. Seeing none, roll call vote. Pretty easy today.
Teets,
Yes.
McGillivray,
Yes.
Spiz,
Yes.
Dwyer.
Yes. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you for being here this morning, and anything to report from Sheriff Bouchard or the undersheriff?
Well,
that easy on me,
well, we are wearing today our support. Just want to bring
Yes.
attention to the pink badges that we're authorized to wear in support and service for our breast cancer awareness for the whole entire month of October.
Great. Excellent. Thank you. Moving on to our next item, Circuit Court approval creation of 1 additional Circuit Court judgeship, which would be effective January 1st, 2019. And this is moved by Commissioner Teets, supported by Commissioner Spiz. And we have as our presenters Kevin Offeiner. Is that
Offner,
Offner?
yeah.
And with you?
Judge Lisa Langton.
I thought so. Judge, welcome.
Nice to see you guys again.
Nice seeing you again. So, would you like to provide us with the information needed?
Sure, I would. First of all, Commissioners, I want to thank you for considering this request. We appreciate it, and we appreciate your time very much. With me is Judge Lisa Langton. Judge Langton, in a former life, was one of the administrators for the Circuit Court. She has been dealing with family division matters for a long time and is very, very knowledgeable about all things family division. So she graciously gave of her time this morning. She's very busy, but so I'll be happy to come down and answer any questions, and I'll get into why specifically the family division in a moment. In order to get a new judgeship in any of the trial courts in the state of Michigan, 2 approvals are required. There has to be legislative authority, and there has to be funding unit approval. So legislative authority has already been obtained. There is a bill that was signed that authorizes a new circuit court judgeship for this circuit court effective January 1, 2019. The second part of that is the resolution that's before you. That resolution, if approved, would then allow for the circuit court judgeship. So it's not approved just because there's legislation until you approve it. You might be wondering why the January 1, 2019 date and why we're coming down now so early. 2 reasons. One is that state law requires that a resolution be adopted by the board, and if that resolution is adopted, it has to be submitted to the state court administrative office something like 17 weeks before the August primary. So if you go backwards, that's sometime in mid-April of next year. So that's partly why we're doing it a little early, but even more so, candidates who might be interested in the judgeship, should it be approved, have to get nominating petitions. They have to circulate those. That can be a couple-month process, and I think that those typically are submitted by a deadline in April. So they're going to want to start probably December or January, and that's one of the reasons, the primary reason we're coming down so early with this request. The effective date, as I mentioned, would be January 1, 2019 if approved. I mentioned the family division and that Judge Langton has signed a family division docket. As you see in the resolution, our intent is to assign, the bench's intent is to assign this judgeship, should it be approved, to the family division. Just so you may not know, the circuit court basically has 4 different kinds of cases that it hears. It has family division cases, and I'll get into that a little bit more explicitly in a moment, business court cases, general civil cases, and criminal cases. So we really have kind of 2 divisions or 3 divisions in the circuit court. We have judges who have a civil criminal docket, we have judges who have a business court criminal docket, and then we have judges who have a family docket. And in the family docket, those are very important cases because they're dealing with families and with children. Some of the cases that Judge Langton and her colleagues here in the family docket are neglect matters, the termination of parental rights, juvenile delinquency matters, adoptions, divorce cases involving children and not involving children. Those that involve children often have parenting time, custody, and support issues associated with them. And the Supreme Court has placed a great deal of emphasis on hearing those cases in a timely way. And right now our need is in the family division. And so the bench unanimously or without objection has agreed that this judgeship, should it be approved, will be assigned to the Family Division of the Circuit Court. The county executive supports this request, and we're grateful for that support. And lastly, you'll see in the resolution that our judges did this on their own volition. Although it's entirely possible we could have been asked to do this, but even before that, the judges said, we feel that this is important enough that we're going to make this request. We don't want any budget impact on the county. So the judges agreed that they're going to make budget cuts. Those cuts will come from the Sheriff's Department. I'm sorry, the Circuit Court.
Everyone's awake, okay, all right.
No, I misspoke. They're actually going to come from the Circuit Court. And we haven't actually finalized those budget cuts yet, but we're in the process of doing that. Our bench will be voting on that. And you'll see in your 2019 budget request from the court then, should this resolution be approved, cuts that will be equal to or greater than the cost of the new judgeship, so that it'll be budget neutral to the county. That's kind of a real high level. We know that there may be some questions, so we're more than happy to answer those. I don't know if Judge Langton has any additional comments, but we're here to answer questions that you might have.
Could you explain what type of cases are handled by the family court and the increases that you've experienced over the last couple of years? Because I know there's been a dramatic increase as far as the workload, and that's one of the main reasons, I believe, that you're asking for this new judgeship, correct?
Right. So I'm happy to answer that, and I brought visual aids today too. So I brought my calendar so you can see what our calendar is like. And I'm not gonna I'm happy to pass it around, but I guess the point is that our calendar looks kind of like this. So every day we have emergency things that we must deal with. We have personal protection orders that we must deal with. We have weekly motion calls, that our motion calls now average about 40 motions a morning. These are my motion call dockets. 60% of those are post-judgment. So the numbers that you see on new case filings, that's, sort of relevant. But what you don't see on there, because it's captured nowhere, which drives me insane. But it's all the post-judgment work. So whenever we get a divorce judgment final, we still have jurisdiction over that case as long as there's one child under the age of 18. So, for instance, my motion call on any given week, probably, and I can pull it out, but it's probably about 60% of them are post-judgment matters. So not new cases at all. And so that's what's dramatically affects our docket. We also hear juvenile neglect and abuse delinquency cases. And what I want to say about those is, if you look at the time guidelines that the state court administrator believes is a fair and reasonable time to dispose of these cases, from the time a child gets placed into care or taken out of their home until the time that we can try this case, we are woefully behind in that, which is shameful to us. We are vigilantly working on that, but our caseload is such, we basically have to have, for each neglect hearing, we have to have 3 trials, 3 mini trials. We have to have a trial in jurisdiction, which can be a jury trial. I had one this last week. You have to have a trial on statutory basis, and then you have to have a trial on best interest. Each case gets 3 trials, and each case is likely have about 4 lawyers. So trying to coordinate 4 lawyers and a prosecutor in a few weeks' time is a nightmare for us, given our volume. So we are not getting those done in the way that we should be getting them done, and we are in the process of trying to revamp our whole juvenile system, try to cut days off of this, trying to use technology on some of the things, but it's bottom line scheduling. So we hear an abuse and neglect. We hear personal protection orders. We have several thousands of those a year. We've just recently had a PPO visiting judge starting, part-time PPO visiting judge, but which has given us some relief. Those are the non-domestics though, so we keep all of our domestic stuff because sometimes they're tied to neglect cases and domestic cases. Then on the domestic side, we hear children or domestic divorces with kids, without kids. We hear all the paternity actions filed by the prosecutor's office. We hear separate child support cases, separate child custody cases, and surrogacy cases. I mean, I can go on, but those are that's the general workload that we have, and our numbers are staggering, I think, for the number of judges we have hearing them, and we're doing our best to manage that, but right now, if you wanted a trial in front of me, you would be looking in January, which is sad, because some of these cases deal with, you know, kids and families and parenting time and custody and support, and those need our immediate attention. We can't give it to them. I mean, we do the best we can.
Thank you, Judge, appreciate that. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Commissioner McGilvery?
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I'm opposed to adding a judge.
Yep.
But I'm gonna vote no today, and the reason I'm gonna vote no is because I have no backup material. I have a resolution in front of me that says that you want one.
Okay.
There's no back.
What can we give you?
Well, I need backup material as to what it's gonna cost,
Okay, we have that.
and most importantly, the need for this. Some way you can demonstrate the need. I wouldn't be a good commissioner, fiscal steward of the taxpayers' money if I just vote yes for this. So today I'm gonna be voting no, and hopefully I can get some backup
All right,
material.
well, we're happy to do that. I mean, and we have, okay, sounds like your mind's made up.
Commissioner Spiz?
Similar question, I do support, I
Yes.
know we'll be voting yes on this today, but question about, since the county is responsible for facilities, et cetera,
Yeah.
how are we gonna accommodate this additional judge?
So right now in Oakland County, between the probate and circuit court judges, we have 23 judges, and we have 24 courtrooms. So, I mean, we may have to do some adjusting or moving around, but we have the facilities to do it. So we would not be asking money for that, too.
Commissioner McGilvery?
I'd also like to see a breakdown of total cost, added staff, judgeship.
It's, and you know, like in your, hopefully in the past, when you've seen our budget, it's the same as what which mine is, and I think we have a total number, don't we?
Well, I can address the cost real quickly. The cost for new judgeship is about $360,000 to $370,000. And that includes the 4 support personnel. Every judge has a staff attorney, a secretary, and 2 court clerks. And then there's operating costs. They have to have computers, telephones, and so forth. So it's about $360,000 to $370,000. The judge's salary is paid for entirely by the state. Judge Langton gets 2 paychecks biweekly. She gets one from the county and one from the state, and then the county is reimbursed in full quarterly for the cost of the county checks that the judges receive. So the judge is sort of free, except there are a few fringe benefit costs that the county does bear. But we're committed to, so if it's $370,000, we're gonna make $370,000 in cuts in our budget so that it's budget neutral to the county. So I can put that, Commissioner, in more of a spreadsheet format for you,
Okay.
but those are the numbers.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Teeth?
Yes, just, will this be sufficient, or an additional judge be sufficient to solve these problems? Or in 2 years, are we gonna be back at the table with the
So-
same issues?
So it's a really good question, and we've always had, we're not asking for less work. I mean, that's how I look at this request. So, and we've looked hard within our own numbers to see if we can divert other judicial resources, which we recently did when when my seat came on board in 2014. If you recall, that was Judge McDonald's seat, and we suspended Judge McDonald's seat when he retired to save money to meet our budget tasks, our cuts that were so significant several years ago. And so when we restored that seat, we put it in family division. We knew the need was there. And that was a help. But I think the long-term answer is that our belief is the additional judgeship will give us not just relief for us, but allow us to serve our cases in a much efficient way. And then it also takes away some of the wrangling within the ranks to try to see if we can divert more judges out. We thought about taking another judge out of the civil criminal, but we've already taken one from them. Business court's likely gonna need more resources, so we're robbing Peter to pay Paul. So we believe that with this additional judgeship, at least for the foreseeable long-term future, we would be good. We would be good.
Commissioner?
Yeah, we need to put the resources behind this, because I think, as you outlined, it's a special type of cruelty to have to tell a family or a child, you know, oh, it's another 4 months or 6 months, and that's a special type of cruelty that in government we should always try to avoid. So thank you, and I guess my point would be let us know if this continues to be an issue as far as the timeline and getting things scheduled.
Yeah.
That's why people, dislike government, because
It's the
you
truth.
can't get things processed, and then it's also why many of us are involved in government, is trying to make it better for.
So that's why I brought my schedule,
Yeah.
because I want you to see, it's not that I have all these blank days and I'm not trying to get work done. It's that I don't have blank days to get things scheduled.
Sure. No,
So
I'm-
I'm trying to be, the word transparent, here it is. It's
Yeah.
our workload, and it's hard to define our workload, Commissioner Gilbert, because part of it is, you see numbers for new case filings, but what they don't put out there, what SCAO doesn't have a line item for, is all the post-judgment work we have. So all of that is not recorded. So it's very frustrating to us, because even if the numbers are increasing by 1 or 2%, the amount of extra work we do and the hearings we set are many times for cases I haven't seen in 5 years. But here you go, here's another issue that just came up. They wanna change schools, they wanna move out of state, whatever. Those are our cases still forever.
So Judge, you handle child abuse cases. Percentage-wise, what do they represent, child abuse cases in family court?
So the numbers are
Percentage-wise.
probably 10% of our cases. The workload associated with that is probably 40% of our workload.
So this new judgeship wouldn't go into effect until 2019.
Right, so we're gonna be
Are we
starting-
creating an additional hardship on these cases as far as child abuse cases? I mean,
We put those at the top of the stack. I mean, we manage those the best we can. And so one of the little bit of relief from the visiting PPO judge, which, by the way, if this goes through, we will get rid of the visiting judge, so that'll go towards the cost of the new judge, and benefit to the new judge.
Okay.
But I mean, we will manage how we've been managing, but we've come to the point where we've determined, and, we just got our workload, I don't know, what's the-
Performance measures.
Performance,
Mhm.
and, in Oakland County, we, out of the 5 big counties, we are at the bottom of the stack on timeliness for the.
see, my
Right.
concern,
Yes.
based on my background,
Embarrassing.
is the child abuse cases, because I continue to see them, no matter what city or
Yeah.
county you're in. And
Right.
it's a major concern, a major problem.
They're complicated cases, they require a lot of work, there are hours and hours, days of trial. And we will continue to do the best we can to make sure those are at the top of the stack. And that's what our commitment is.
Thank you.
We care about it.
Okay, any other questions? If not, roll call vote, please.
All right, thank you.
McGilvray?
No.
Spiz?
Yes.
Teets?
Yes.
And Dwyer?
Yes. Motion carries. Anything else to offer today?
Thank you, Commissioners, we
Thank you.
appreciate it.
your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll,
Quick question, Vic.
Yes.
When does this one go to HR?
October 18th.
October, I think? 'cause
Yeah, there's direct
the tomorrow's
referral,
canceled.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
okay, we'll move to communications. We have 3 items. Need a motion to receive and file. Moved by Commissioner Spiz, supported by Commissioner McGilvery. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, other business. I believe we have, yes, please. We have Mr. Mark Newman, who's the Deputy County Executive in charge of many areas, including animal control, who will give us an update on the investigation the best he can.
Did you just promote me? I'm just a director, I'm just.
Oh, I thought you were a deputy.
No.
Well, I did. And you know why? Because you
This was
deserve
HR,
it.
that would be
Because you deserve it.
Anyways, you asked me to give an update. I can just tell you that it's progressing along at the shelter in Farmington Hills. We had an inspection a couple of weeks ago. At that inspection, the report to me was that the animals had been groomed. She's down to 16, which was an improvement over the previous visits. The vet needs are being addressed, so they're under a vet care. We're satisfied that it's moving along. November 8th will be the 120th day, which is the agreement that the county negotiated with the owner and her attorney. November the 8th will be the final date. So, and we will do an inspection that day also. So that's where that's at. As you know, tomorrow is our grand opening of our new facility. We're looking forward to that. Hope you can make it to that. Is there any questions?
Any questions? Okay.
I do have
Commissioner
one.
Spiz?
Between now and November 8th, there still will be spot inspections.
Yeah, we negotiated with them that we would do 4 inspections over that period, over that 4-month period.
Are
So,
those surprise inspections or?
pardon?
Are those surprise inspection or notified inspection?
No, they know we're coming. Yep, that was negotiated. And, you know, as
Okay.
far as the case at the prosecutor's office, you know, the prosecutor, commissioner, you know, they don't comment on
Right.
pending cases, so they're not going to, and we'll just wait and see what we anticipate that we'll get some kind of a ruling. I don't know what it will be, but they'll follow the law, I know that.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate that. Is there any other business? Seeing none, just a note, our study group on gun violence will convene immediately following this meeting. And with that, we're adjourned.